I did not even know it had gotten so bad. This is how I went from suffering in silence to reinventing my life in midlife. About 3 years ago, I was 80 pounds heavier and I was struggling with just fatigue, exhaustion, and brain fog, gut issues. And it was a really difficult existence. Not to mention the pain, the rather extreme pain that I was in from uterine fibroids. It was so bad that it woke me up in the middle of the night if I didn't wake up first to take my medicine, my pain medicine. It felt like my body was shutting down, and I didn't recognize myself when I looked in the mirror. I felt like I was looking at a stranger. I felt ashamed of myself because I thought it was my fault that I let it get this bad, that I was so heavy, and that my sugar cravings were so out of control, and that I was so exhausted that I was drinking coffee all day just to stay awake and stay focused enough to get through the day. I felt like I couldn't control what was happening to my body anymore, and it was scaring me because it felt like my life was getting worse and there was nothing that I could do about it. Everything that I tried didn't seem to help at all. Exercising a bit, I ended up just being more tired. It felt good for maybe 45 minutes or so after I exercised, and then the energy just tanked. I tried to do clean eating, eating whole foods, a plant-based diet, eat the rainbow, all that good stuff, and it didn't seem to help me. This was not the woman that I had remembered being all my life, because before all of this perimenopause bullshit hit, I was a pretty tenacious and lively and engaging kind of person. And I really prided myself on the superwoman cape that I used to wear, not literally, but figuratively, because I felt so competent and just so capable and able to do so many things. And it felt good to be able to accomplish a lot. So when things started to slide, my energy started to slide, my focus started to slide, I was very concerned about how this would affect my life in the short term and in the long run. Because in the short term, I was really concerned about how things would go with work. In the long run, I was concerned about my quality of life in general. Just getting up off of the couch had become a scoot, scoot, and a push kind of thing. And that's just not who I was before. But all of this changed so gradually that I didn't even realize how bad it had gotten. And it wasn't until my mom noticed and she called it out. She didn't call me out, but she called it out. I was just standing around after dinner and talking with my family as we were about to leave the restaurant. And I kind of leaned on the table and bent over a little bit and winced in pain. And I thought that I had been hiding this pretty well, but I guess I had not, because she had noticed that I had been doing that a little bit all evening. And she really encouraged me to see a doctor. And the funny thing is, I felt like women had been going through perimenopause and menopause, this life change, for millennia. Why am I any different? Why should I expect any special attention? I'm no special person. I should be able to deal with this. I just need to suck it up. This is just aging. So when my mom called it out and she said, no, you should probably go see a doctor, I realized that maybe the experience that I was going through was not an easy one. She encouraged me to find a naturopath doctor, because anytime I had talked with my regular doctors about this, it was just, oh, you're just aging. This is just how it is. Eat less, move more. It's very kind of simplistic, but I didn't get much in the way of support from the doctors, from the traditional doctors. So she said, why don't you try a naturopath doctor? I said, okay. So I started doing research, and I started actually doing a bit of just digging for information to find out what exactly is going on with my body. And then I discovered perimenopause is when your hormones go crazy on the hormone roller coaster ride. And then things kind of settle and then gradually decline a little bit more as you get past menopause. But I didn't realize that perimenopause starts years before menopause. And it could start even for some people as early as 35. In my 40s, the early 40s, I was badass. I was cute. I was fly. I was on top of the world. But there was this steady decline that happened over probably 10 years. So I did the research and I found a doctor that I wanted to see. And so I reached out and I was really excited about meeting with her. And she was a doctor, so I figured, great, she can prescribe the hormones that I need. I had come to the decision that I feel safe enough to try bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. I did not want to try any synthetic hormones because I was very concerned about side effects and other health issues from synthetic hormones. So I reached out and I met with her and I got the sticker shock. It was almost $3,000. And I was like, whoa, what do I do? I was scared because I knew that I needed help, but I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. And I was also feeling like I am not in a place worthiness wise, self-esteem wise, to invest that. And so I hung up the phone with her and I was very discouraged. But I knew that I needed this help. And so I sat with it and I thought about it. I had to make a decision that I was worth investing in, that I was worth finding that $3,000 so that I can improve my quality of life right now. Because if I can't have a good quality of life now, how good is my retirement going to be? I needed to get healthy. And so I decided that it was time for me to invest in myself. And so I did. And what that ended up being was a very strong signal to myself, a very good message to myself that, hey, you are worthy of investing in so that you can have a good quality of life. And so I went through her program, and unfortunately I didn't get to work with her specifically. I worked with a different doctor. She had a load of information for me every time we met, and I was super grateful for that. We also did a lot of testing, and so I got to learn about some of the health issues that I was dealing with, hormone levels, cortisol, and how my estrogen breaks down into the different pathways, like gut issues and a lot of different things. And so it was very educational. I also learned that progesterone, the bioidentical progesterone taken by mouth, helped me to get out of that pain, that terrible pain that I was in. That in itself was worth the $3,000. I will tell you that right now. I did appreciate all the education because it really just helped me to feel like I'm not broken, I'm normal, I'm just going through this and I'm having a real bumpy ride. And so I learned that the progesterone helped with that. And when I went to my doctor, because they couldn't prescribe for me, so I had to still work with my own doctors, and that was kind of a shit show with the doctors that I had at the time. I have completely different doctors now. But At the time, I went to the OBGYN. I asked her for the bioidentical progesterone, and she really wanted me to take the pill instead. And included in that was a synthetic progestin, which is different than progesterone. It's a synthetic version of progesterone, and she wanted me to take this. Now, I won't say that the pill is wrong across the board. This is my own personal belief and the conclusions that I came to after the research that I did. Each person has to decide for themselves what is right for them. So, I told her that I wanted to take the progesterone. And as she was leaving, while I was still trying to talk to her, she basically yelled at me and said, "This is not going to work. You'll be back." But she gave me the prescription, and that's what I wanted. So I got my prescription in my hot little hand. I went straight out to fill it, took the progesterone, and that worked. Completely wiped out the pain. Thank God. So then I was able to sleep. Another thing that I learned was that I need to educate myself on what's happening with my body. I also learned that I need to advocate for myself. This was huge because I always felt like when you went to the doctor, they're the expert, they tell you what to do and you just do that. Well, what I learned was no, they don't teach much about menopause in medical school. And also, in America at least, there's just not that much respect, care given to women in midlife. That really pissed me off because here we are going through this really tough time of many shifts, okay? Just the hormone piece is a lot. It's a lot when your body stops working the way that it used to, the way that it always has for decades. And suddenly it's working differently and doing different things. But then in midlife, women are also dealing with empty nest syndrome. Now you have tied your identity to being a mother, and you've been momming so hard for all this time. And then suddenly they're gone, as they should be, but it's still heartbreaking because we love those kiddos. And then they grow up and they go off and they have their life. And we cheer them on, but with tears in our eyes because we miss them and because we don't get to be in their life every single day the way that we used to. And that hurts. So there's that. Trying to blink back tears here. And then there's relationship changes because sometimes marriages end. Relationships may end. People grow, people change, people evolve, people drift apart. Not only that, financial changes can come with those divorces. Also, women going through midlife may be looking at a job change, perhaps a career change. And some people are caregivers for their aging parents. This is a lot for women to deal with while their hormones are going nuts. So when you go to the doctor and say, "Hey, doctor, things aren't working right. I'm not feeling the way that I normally feel," we get dismissed. They say, "Well, you must be depressed. Here's a pill. Take this pill." Maybe we're depressed because there are things that are not working the way that they used to. Maybe there's a root cause. Maybe there's doctors that know more about this than the one we're standing in front of. Maybe we need to fire our current doctor and find a doctor who is willing to take the time, who's willing to work with the woman standing in front of them. So after I decided to switch doctors, I started to get some relief from the pain. I also learned from the naturopath doctor that food has an effect on my perimenopause symptoms. And I went through the elimination diet. I lost 20 pounds in 2, 3 months, something like that. And that was good. It's just at the time, I couldn't sustain it. I wasn't in the place to do it. It seemed complicated to me at the time, and I was a little overwhelmed. So I wasn't able to stay on that diet. After I was done working with a naturopath doctor, I was able to find doctors that would work with me. And that was wonderful. They were able to prescribe for me the bioidentical hormones that I needed to get me into a much better place. And my brain was so happy, delighted with that. So delighted with that. I did feel much better. The pain was gone. But what I couldn't quite accomplish was the weight loss and the fatigue and still some brain fog. Less, but still brain fog. And really, I backslid after that because I didn't stay on the elimination diet and I had the hormones, but there was still some suffering happening there. I had gained 100 pounds and my knees did not like that. My back did not like that. My joints just didn't like it. And I was so exhausted. And so I had even started thyroid support. And I thought, okay, this will be it. Each time I tried something new or added something new, I thought, okay, this will be it. This is going to be the thing that'll make the difference. And even with the thyroid, I still could not shake the weight. And I was so confused and I was so just dumbfounded. And I was just like, God, this can't be the way that my life is going to be. What am I doing wrong? Please just show me what I need to do because I have to get out of this. And carnivore content started to pop up in my YouTube feed. And I started watching these. And carnivore, for those who don't know, it's basically you just eat meat. No vegetables, no starches, nothing really, just meat. Now, some people are very strict with it. Other people are more lenient. So I was watching these videos out of pure morbid curiosity. And it was silly. I would talk back to them because it was so far outside of anything that I had ever heard. I was like, this can't be real. These people cannot be real. It didn't make any sense to me. But one thing that I noticed over time after I stopped talking to the videos was that people were actually healing. Not just from small stuff, but big stuff that they had been dealing with for many years. Like multiple sclerosis. People were reversing diabetes. And people were shedding huge amounts of weight, shedding huge amounts of fat. And I was starting to get really like, okay, maybe I'll try this. It sounds crazy. It flies in the face of everything I had ever been told about diet, about nutrition. But if these people are actually getting healing, I'll try it. I'll try it for a month. So in January of 2024, I tried it. And literally 3 days in, my sugar cravings were gone. Gone. Now, let me talk to you about my sugar thing that I had going on before. I had such raging sugar cravings that I would get in the car and drive to the store to buy Snickers or peanut butter cups, or the big one was ice cream. I would buy ice cream and I would bring it home and it would be my ice cream. Like nobody better touch the ice cream. If I would go to like a family event and the request was, oh, can you bring some carrot cake? I would say, yeah, sure. I'll make the carrot cake, but I couldn't just make a carrot cake and bring it. I had to make one to bring, and then I had my own little side cake. That was my cake. And so that was a problem because I would have the cake with the dinner, and then I'd have a little bit more cake later, and then I'd be laying in bed and I'd be thinking about that cake. I'm like, I know that cake is still there. I want some of that cake. So I'd get up, tiptoe over to the fridge and have some more cake, and it was out of control. So to start carnivore and 3 days in, there's no more sugar cravings? What? Not only that, I didn't have any wine cravings after that. I didn't even think about it. How about that? And then the weight started to come off. At first, of course, it was water weight, but that was huge because getting rid of that water weight, the inflammation was coming down and my body was just starting to heal. And then the fat started to come off. And I shifted about 60 pounds that first year fairly quickly. It was a healthy 1 to 2 pounds per week. And that was great because I was continually making progress. But not only that, I had gut issues gone. And then the brain fog started to clear. I could think. I could focus. I could focus at work. That was amazing. And the depression started to lift. That was huge. The depression lifted because I had hope. It didn't seem hopeless anymore. It was like the clouds parted, the sky opened, everything opened, the world opened up to me after that. I wasn't staring down years of declining health and then sliding into the grave. That was what I was afraid of. Now I was looking at my health improving and my brain clearing and my future opening up. That seemed miraculous to me. I'm going to claim it. That was miraculous to me. Now, I had hit a stall in my weight loss for about 6 months, and we went to work looking at my hormones again, my thyroid, and we did find that the inactive T3 was not converting to the active form. And so we worked on that a bit, and that improved things. I started to get a little bit more energy to get me through the day and broke the stall. So now I'm down 80 pounds. Still got another 20 pounds to go, but things are improving and I'm so excited to have a new lease on life. I feel like I've got this wonderful new chapter ahead of me. And so then I started thinking about what women have to deal with in this stage of life. And just looking back over my journey, and I got mad because it should not be this hard to get good care, to get good advice, to find good education, and to be able to talk to somebody who understands what women are going through at this time in life. And it had just made me mad for so long, and I was just kind of stewing with it. But then I found hypnosis, and I just was doing it for my own personal improvement, just to shake loose some of these old patterns of thinking that were holding me back for a long time, to improve the ways that I think about myself, the way that I think about my future, the way that I think about the world, and to transform those old beliefs and to break the old patterns of behavior that were holding me back. And what happened was my anger and indignation over what women have to go through in midlife became, I'm going to do something about it. And that is where the Reinventing Me Coaching came into play. That is when I decided to start. And so now, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. I am putting together the coaching that I wanted, that I needed 3 years ago to give to you. Because I know that there are those of you out there that are looking for a solution, that understand what I've been through because you're going through it now. So reach out, request a clarity call, let's talk, and see if coaching is right for you. And if not coaching, maybe the community. We have a wonderful community launching in January. It's the Reinvention Collective. I would love to see you in the community. I'm excited to make a difference for women in midlife. We deserve better than what we've experienced. We deserve proper care. We deserve support, and we deserve a community of like-minded people to help us through this season. See you soon.